Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey. Thanks so much for joining us. It's my distinct pleasure to have none other than Brad Sugars with us. He's a brilliant business and real estate mind. He's franchised his own coaching company in his early 20s. It's called ActionCOACH. It's actually the #1 business coaching franchise since 2004. He owns other businesses, and he currently operates in 70 countries. He's married with 5 kids. I don't know how he gets all the time. He's also the author of 16 books in what's called the Instant Series, of which I own them all. In fact, in 2006, when McGraw-Hill bought the international printing rights, it was the largest multi-business book deal involving a single author of all time. He's the co-author with a good buddy of mine, Monty Wyatt, of the best-selling book, Pulling Profits Out of a Hat. Adding zeros to your company isn't magic. And I got to tell you, as somebody who practices very, very, very poor magic, I love the name, and you could just ask my daughter that, by the way. I love the name of the book. So, Mr. Brad Sugars, it's an honor to have you here, boss.
Hey, buddy, it's good to be with you. It's good to have another hockey fan on the line, and it's good to be chatting business and real estate with you.
That is it, my man. So, look, let's get straight into her. So what I did, but prior to this, I'm prepping, I got 700 business coaches around the world to kind of use my stuff, and I said, guys, I'm interviewing Brad Sugars. What's the question that you would want to know the most? I was blown away, quite frankly, at the number that came back to me with something in and around his mindset. So I kind of took about 20 answers and I kind of condensed them down. So here's my question for you. You've obviously been very successful. What would you say, what's the secret behind the mindset that you have in and around success?
You know, let me put it bluntly. There's no such thing as a secret anymore. All secrets are either on the internet or in a book. So let's start with that fundamental fact. So therein lies the secret. I just read all the time. I keep reading. I keep learning. I keep studying. I literally just finished my meditation for the morning and my workout for the morning. So, I think that a lot of people keep hunting the secret, whereas the secret is there is no secret. You just go for it. You just go big. If that's a secret, people say to me, if you had to do it all over again, what would you change? And I always say, I would have gone faster. I would have gone bigger, quicker. I wouldn't have tried to slow myself down and question my own abilities. And I think that's probably the one of the fundamentals is that I'm lucky enough to have been raised Australian. So, we believe in ourselves and we have a confidence level that's just naturally believe in you. My dad used to put it real blunt. He said to me, Brad, half of the world are idiots. So, you can choose whether you follow your own judgment or the others. But if you start following the crowd, then expect to be hanging with them all the time, and that's sort of, I guess, the basics of knowing what you know. And the other thing is, Carl, people are begging to be led. I got to tell you, I forget who taught me that, but oh my God, when someone said to me, people are begging to be led, they're looking for a leader. They're looking for someone with some level of certainty around what needs to be done and what should be done. And I think as a coach that sometimes you just got to go with your gut. And most of the time in coaching sessions, your gut says, hey, ask them more about that. And if you keep going with your brain, I think you end up losing the client because you're not actually asking that little question that, hey, why did you flinch when you said that? Or why did you sort of smirk or try and create a joke around that? I don't know, buddy. I don't think there is one secret. I think the simplest thing is You just got to keep learning. Yesterday I was chatting with John Ashraf, who wrote this great new book called Inner Size, about exercising the brain. And I think that if you stop learning and stop growing, and this is where a lot of coaches fall down, they stop learning and growing. Their clients catch them and pass them, and if your clients catch you and pass you, you're out.
Yep, I love it. So I've got a new business coach on the line. Just got started, 90 days into it. What do you think? What would be the first steps and the best steps that you'd guide them towards taking?
Get to work. Stop thinking. Stop doing anything. Get away from your computer. Your computer is evil. Get away from your computer. Stop thinking that social media is the answer. That is the biggest, can I say a bullshit excuse that I ever hear
from? Sure can, man.
All these people going, oh, you know what? I've posted on social media. I'm doing all these videos. Listen, there's short-term, medium-term, and long-term marketing. Social media is long-term marketing. Stop it. When you're first starting out, do short-term stuff. Go knock on doors, get to networking functions, set appointments, get on the phone, bang out 20 letters a day, every single day to 20 good prospects, follow up, and you must do the phone first thing in the morning. You are not allowed to do any other task until you've banged out that phone and booked at least one appointment with one prospect every morning. If you haven't banged out that phone and until you get it. If you don't get it, then you're on that phone till midnight. I don't care what time you get off that phone, but unless you have the discipline to bang that phone out every morning, you're like, oh, I'm scared of the phone. Well, then get the heck out of business coaching. If you don't have the balls to get on the phone and call people, then you shouldn't be coaching people. That's a pretty simple fact. You gotta do what you teach. You gotta be out there and doing things that stretch your comfort zone.
Yeah, I love it. I often talk. So I say to coaches, you don't have a money problem. You don't have a number of clients problem. You have a refusal to help people before you get paid problem, right? That's where, Brad, you're famous for this. I mean, the amount of video that you've got out there, and I've watched, many, many, many hours of it. I mean, you're just providing value, and they don't have to pay you 5 cents. They can just go Google your name and see it, right? Whereas the business coach is scared to press play on the video because heaven forbid they don't look good, or they don't have the makeup on, or their hair's not done, or the background's not right. Right? So
you know what? I don't know if anyone jumps on any of my social media, and I'm on all of them, other than Pinterest. I'm not really crafty. But if you jump on my LinkedIn or Face, you'll see I do a video every single day, 5 minutes from my car. Just while I'm driving somewhere, I just make up something in my mind to get out there and get the message. But I'm also been in this game 26 years of coaching. So, 26 years of content. Don't try and catch me. Do what you do best. But I go back to, the very, very basic fundamentals of where I first got my start. I revolutionized the seminar business. I started in Australia where I did free seminars. I was the first one to ever do free seminars across the entire planet. And I did 288,000 people in 2 years through free seminars. And from that, we made about $30 million in sales. So, people are scared to give stuff away and that sort of thing. It's like your first appointment with a client. Give away your first month with a client, for goodness sake. Prove yourself if you're just starting out. Go and do it. I mean, every one of my coaches at ActionCOACH must be a pro bono coach. They must coach a charity or a not-for-profit for free, and it's the first thing they do. They also do our group coaching program for free to 10 of their friends the day they start, just to prove they can do this stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Want to hear a good one? So I got my daughter. I got a 5-year-old daughter. So I've got her I bought her a book. I think it's called Charlie and the Fruit Stand. But anyway, so I got her pumped up about, fruit stands, which it's summer, so the logical extension is a lemonade stand. So one of the deals that we made, so it's, it's $1 for lemonade, and then we add cookies and brownies, et cetera. Pretty straightforward. But I told her, I said, look, a lot of people don't have money nowadays, right? And that they've got credit cards, and we don't have the facility to take those, right? So lemonade stand, for goodness sake. But I said, baby, here's what we're going to do. If anybody comes up and they want a lemonade, but they don't have money, we give it to them. And she kind of looks at me, and I mean, she's not, but I could tell that she was looking at me like, but Daddy, I don't think that's good business.
That's not the
you know
point.
what I mean? I'm like, maybe.
Did you watch the book? Did you read it?
I like dead set. But anyway, so she's like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool, right? So somebody comes up, boom, boom, and it was reasonably early into it. And again, you know, I had a daughter with her, and she wanted the lemonade, and Mommy's like, oh, I'm sorry, look, we don't have any money, but look, let's go. Whoa, no, look, free of charge, absolutely. If she wants a lemonade, she gets a lemonade. That's the way it goes. Boom, she gets her lemonade. You could imagine the mom's like, oh my gosh, she's so sweet, right? Do. Well, dead set. And I just told her, I said, I don't know why. It doesn't matter how. It will come back in spades, baby. It's the way the world works. Well, dead set. That exact woman, the first one of the first people that came up, right, with her little daughter, skedaddles. She goes to the bank machine. She ends up like she brings back a 5, gives us $5 for the $1 lemonade. So in other words, a $4 tip. And I'm like, oh my gosh, baby. You see, this is the way it works, and it won't happen the next time, but if you do it enough, it will come back in spades. So very similar and not a bad, for a business coach, again, just get out there. If you're not confident that you can help the business owners, then you definitely have to do the pro bono coaching, because you'll be helping them, but what you're really going to be is learning how the heck to do this stuff, right?
Yeah, you'll be helping yourself. I mean, that's ultimately, when you're starting out in any industry, and it doesn't matter the industry, you're not certain. You've got to just do stuff to prove yourself to yourself. I mean, that's the very basic fundamentals of it. I look back to when I first started coaching, and coaching's gone through an evolution or two evolutions. The first evolution is, what is coaching, and is that like consulting? And I had to explain it to everybody. The second evolution was, they're failing, they should get a coach. So now we're in evolution 3 of, you're succeeding, then you better go and get a coach so you can go from good to great. And I think that's sort of the evolution that we're seeing now. I was chatting with Marshall Goldsmith the other day, and we said we should do a podcast together on that so that every coach in the world can use it, to just share with people out the value of where coaching is at.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so on that note, you've heard this a lot where a business coach is out there, and no doubt you hear it. I do. I think we all hear it. But, geez, like, they're all broke. Nobody can afford me. What would you say? What's a number one strategy? Not only finding coaching clients, but finding, the ones that we're going to be able to add zeros to, like your book says. Where can we? What's the best way to find high-end coaching clients that can actually afford us if they choose to take us on?
Well, first and foremost, everybody can afford you. The question is, do you have a program that they can afford? If you don't have a $100 a month program, then you're the idiot, not them. I mean, if you can't, like this, why do you think I have books? People can't afford coaching. You can afford a book, okay? You can afford a $25 book. Jump on Amazon. They even probably discount it for you. There you go. So good job, Amazon. But the point is, there's no such thing as someone who can't afford you. There's someone who doesn't offer a program that's available for that level of client. You got to remember, 80% of small businesses are small. They're not big. So yeah, you can hunt the whale all the time, or you can build a program for the smaller businesses. And by the way, I'm not talking an online training program. Stop developing those. They're a waste of time and a waste of your money. No one buys them, and even if they do buy them, they don't complete them. So stop it. Develop a live program you can deliver with people. At Action Coach, we have 3 live programs that are under $500 a month, that our clients can come and join in groups and stuff. And if you're not offering that, you got to start offering that. Now, you want to go to the bigger clients? 3 things. Number 1, start talking about subjects they actually want to hear about. Big clients don't want to hear about you can grow your business too. They want to hear about specifics, a special thing, a thing that suits them. Recruiting or leadership or something that's more their style, team stuff. They don't want to hear about the little stuff, okay? And so you teach them the little stuff, then only the little guys come, if that's what you're doing in a seminar or on a webinar or anything like that. Second of all, most of the biggest clients you'll get will come through referral, okay? Most of the biggest ones will come by someone acknowledging you to them and to their brother-in-law who runs a division of XYZ company. That's where most of the big ones come from. They're not out hunting. They're not doing it. And the third of all, if they are out hunting, they're hunting on Google. So if I can't find you on Google, if you can't even find yourself on Google, don't expect them to find you. Okay? So It's one of those things, and to be really blunt, most coaches, if a big client came their way, it would scare the living daylights out of them and they wouldn't land it anyway. So get good with the size you're getting. If you're getting a lot of little people coming to you, then get good with them. Don't worry about big ones. Get good with the little ones. And then as you get better with them, then the bigger ones will start coming. I've always said, when you show up the business, Will, if you're only getting little guys coming to you, there's a reason for that. That's what you're ready for right now.
Yeah, you get what you deserve, right?
I go back to, these days I get the multinationals coming to me for help. And they come to me for that because I've built a company to 80 plus countries, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year. They know I can deliver at that level. That's the sort of thing. And it's not, well, I worked for a division of a big company like that. Yeah, you worked for one. You didn't build it. So live with the client base you're getting right now. Be excited about the client base you're getting right now. Be ecstatic about that. It crushes me when a coach is like, oh, I'm only getting small ones coming to me. You mean you're getting some coming to you? You should stop complaining. You should be actually quite excited because there's a lot of coaches out there that no one's coming to them. Even the small ones are running and hiding from them. And when people bitch and moan at me about not getting good clients, I always just sit there and say to them, listen, I'm going to pay you $1,000 a month not to call me every week. Please don't call me because your attitude sucks.
I love it. Okay, so we take on a big client. Okay, so let's call a big client 5 to 15 million, right? Where as a rule, where would you start with that guy? And that I'm the coach that I'm crapping my pants. The big guy came, he agreed to it. As a rule, where do you start with that bigger client?
Their biggest need. They don't come to you when they're a big client. They don't come to you for a generalist idea. They come to you more in the focus of X, Y, Z. I always teach my guys, listen, if someone's talking to you about systems, I want systems, I need systems. You tell them, well, I'm going to put you on the systems coaching program. And they look at me and go, well, what's the systems coaching program? The exact same freaking coaching program as you do for everybody else. It's just called the systems coaching program. And you focus on systems more than anything else. And then when you find he needs sales help, you start doing, I can add the sales coaching program for you. But if you try and do what you want to do with them, you lose the client. In the first 90 days, you got to hit their one goal. What's their one goal for the first 90 days? Know what it is, hit that goal. That's the ultimate thing for a coach in the beginning. Is that.
But ultimately, just so that everybody hears what you just said, you would pretty much ask questions. When they answered, you'd actually pay attention, which I think people often miss that one, right? So in other words, the answers that I'm giving you, I'm like, Brad, I really need some help in and around the area of recruitment. My staff are coming and going, and I need some good folks. So you'd put me on the recruitment coaching program. You took the conversation.
Do you know what most people would say to that? Do you know what most coaches would say to that, though? Well, I'm not in the recruiting business. I'm in the coaching business. And so let me find someone that is in the recruiting business that can help you. And that's where they fall down. Listen, a coach of a basketball team, someone says, Coach, I need some help with this. Okay, let me coach you in that. They don't refer you outside to someone else. They go on with what it needs to be. And I think that's important. But listen to what they want. They a big company like that is oftentimes going to require some sort of a proposal or some sort of, something to bring them online. And whatever you're writing in the proposal better just be a mirror of exactly what they said they want. They said, okay, I want this. Fantastic. Let me write that in a proposal. And I want to pay this much for it. Fantastic. Let me write that in a proposal. It's not that complex. It's actually really simple. Everybody that I've ever sold to told me exactly what they wanted to buy as long as I asked them the right question.
But there lies the secret, is that you asked the questions, right? So as in you zipped it, you listened, you took some notes, you turned around their words and sold them their words back. Like if they say, I want time with Johnny and Susie, and I've dreamt of taking my kids to Disneyland, that would go into your proposal. And by the way, and the conversion on it would go up, and the virtue of the fact that you've written literally verbatim what it is that they want. And they go, oh my gosh, finally somebody gets me. Boom,
well, let's be clear. No one ever bought coaching. No one ever bought coaching. People only ever buy the outcome of coaching. If you're trying to sell me coaching, you're missing the point. You know, it's like trying to sell a guy a Lamborghini. He's not buying a Lamborghini. He's buying people looking at him. You know, you've got to be understanding of what people are really trying to buy. And no one ever wants to buy coaching. Who the heck would pay? Really, you want me to pay for you to call me every week and annoy the crap out of me? No, I'm not. No, please don't. No, I don't want to buy that. What I do want to buy is, as you just said, I want to buy going to my kid's soccer game. I want to go buy that next vacation. I want to buy my next promotion. I want to buy those things.
Yeah. Okay, so you're about to start a business. We're going to take everything away, which would be plenty for you, okay? And you're going to start again in a brand new business. You're Brad Sugars with your talents, but you are going to start again. What would you do?
You know, I would go into something that, see, most of my business is B2B. I'm moving more B2C purely because then you can, you know, you just go global, and very fast with a commodity-based product, you know, a reusable, simple commodity-based product that I can sell all across the world, and I can have distributors sell for me all across the world. That would probably be a very easy one to start. That being said, I also love businesses like a property management company. I just bought a cleaning company, or not just bought, it was about a year and a half ago now. Looking at buying a pest control company. I like buying things where you can't compete with me on the internet. You know, you can't sell me over the internet. You can't come and do pest control on the internet. It's like you got to actually buy it from me, and I got to come to your house and actually spray around your house. That's probably, there's a few ideas of where I'd get a kickstart. But also I'd raise money for it. I'd raise capital. I wouldn't do it with my own money. When I was young, I always thought bootstrapping was kind of like a badge of honor that I bootstrapped my way through. And now that I'm older, I realize how stupid that was. I didn't need to bootstrap. I could have just actually gone and got money from other people and built this thing real fast. That would have been much smarter.
Yeah. And what would be the structure of that? Okay, so you want, $250,000 from me. What am I going to get for the $250,000? How am I going to realize a profit? What would that look like? Walk me through the structure.
For an investor?
Yep.
Well, see, with investors, there's multiple structures that you'd want to use. And first and foremost, I like putting it in as a loan and equity at the same time. So first of all, they get their money back as a loan, and then they get equity. That way, you can sell a much smaller amount of equity and a much
larger amount.
They still come in as a partner, and they see themselves as a partner, but it's basically a loan that gives them a very small equity. If you just try and give them equity, they're going to take a chunk. So it's a matter of balancing that equation.
And what kind of points would you offer? So just give me an example of a structure. Let's use $250,000 as the number.
Really depends on the business, buddy, because if I'm talking a business that's going to go global in nature, and my business plan shows that it's going to be making, $1 million in the first year, then obviously your points are very low. But I don't offer points above 50 points ever. I don't see any need to do that. But if you're going to go out and chase capital, there's a difference between chasing capital and bringing in capital.
And that's preeminence, in other words, a position. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, look, if
where they know there's a good probability of success.
I mean, let's be blunt. I've built 50-something companies. Only 2 of them went down. The rest went up. Many have sold for good profits. If I stand on stage and say I'm doing a new deal, people go, "What's the deal?" I say, "I'm not telling you. Do you want to invest or not?" It's not that hard, but and that's where you got to build reputation. Reputation in the service-based industry is the thing. I had to learn that the hard way when I had a couple of ex-employees one time that decided they'd write a bunch of anonymous negative stuff about me because the manager that fired them, they hated her. And it was like, dang. And this was when the internet first started and first started to gain notoriety. And I'm just like, how do you fight that? And that's where you learn. You've actually got to go and get all of your good customers to tell the world how good you are. And that reminds me, buddy, have you given me a 5-star review on Facebook or on LinkedIn or anything yet?
I will immediately
at
afterwards.
the end of this phone call. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
I love it.
Give that book and give me a 5-star review on Amazon too for the book, will you?
I most definitely will do that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's so we share this. Low end skill is something I've heard you talk about a lot. So if you're going to take on a business, if I can't hire an 18-year-old and do the work, pest control being the one you mentioned a minute ago, would that go across the board, or maybe can you talk to that principle of yours?
Well, when you're going to grow a business, and let's use an example. Let's say architectural firms. If I'm going to build an architectural firm, I got to hire a bunch of highly educated, highly egoed, oversensitive, steal my clients type people. Whereas if I go and grow a pest control business, I can replace that guy with another guy tomorrow. And having a business that's reliant on amazing people, your business can be held hostage by that. I like having a business that's reliant on great systems, great products, and that sort of thing. You don't walk into the Apple store and go, gee, I wonder if they could get another person here that could sell me a phone tomorrow. No, they could replace that kid with another kid next day. And probably that kid will have more knowledge around the phones than that. And why? Because the kid loves the phone. There's no other reason for the kid to have that knowledge other than they just enjoy it.
Yep.
So
I love it.
I like that was in the book Billionaire in Training, because in Billionaire in Training I gave like my 8 rules of what I do to buy a business. If I'm going to buy something, these are the rules it's got to match. And low skill employees, easy to come by employees is a definite skill, especially if I'm in a scaled business. If I'm going to scale that business, I need to be able to get employees and get them fast and get them trained fast. I can't be waiting around to grow the business because I can't find an employee.
Yeah, I taught, I've written intellectual property for franchise companies, and I'm actually writing a intellectual property right now for a franchise system for a mobile car detailer. But the bottom line, when I explain it to people and I teach it to people, like somebody has a client and the client wants to franchise, the first thing, like there will never be a dental practice that will franchise successfully. The reason is that there's 8 years in the way of them deciding they want to be a dentist and being able to graduate. No franchise. Chiropractic, same thing, versus a moving company, think Subway, think McDonald's, etc., right? So not only from a hiring staff point of view, but when you're looking at franchising, it's very important that it's a low-end skill if you want to be able to scale, right?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you and I'm going to disagree with you. I agree with you on a lot of franchises, but white-collar franchising, when we invented white-collar franchising 20 years ago, it was me, it was expense reduction analysts and like H&R Block.
Yep.
When you can develop a high-skill franchise, but the skill has to have come beforehand. Like for me, most of my business coaches that join me at ActionCOACH are top of the tree business people. Like they've owned their own business, or they've been C-level execs. They're just sick of being road warriors or sick of that sort of thing. So you've got to offer something that is not about the skill. It's about what is the benefit to them over and above that. Like I was just working with a few of our clients down in Texas, and one of them down there is franchising the veterinarian business. Now, it's not the veterinarian stuff that they're really franchising. Like a good vet's a good vet, how to operate on a dog. They ain't franchising that. They're franchising the whole marketing side of it, because most veterinarians are really, really bad at the marketing and sales side of their business. Not just bad, really, really bad. So when you see that stuff, it's like, and even for me with business coaches, a lot of people, and this is where people come to us at ActionCOACH and they go, why would I buy a franchise to become a business coach? And I said, well, you can go and learn to be a business coach anyway. You can go and learn that. You can go to the ICF. They run a few courses, a few grand. Off you go. Go and learn to be a business coach. But if you want to learn to run a business coaching business and how to actually do it, how to get customers, keep customers, how to have all of those systems in place, then, you might want to come hang with us for a little bit.
Yeah, got it. Love it. Okay, so then on the topic of business models, something else that I like to talk about and I pass on to a lot of my coaches is just understanding what a two-way channel is. So what I mean by that is that Airbnb, Uber, Tinder, these companies get started And then people are there, and most people nowadays, I think you'll agree with this, but they confuse million and billion. In fact, they could even throw trillion in there, right? Because the government throws these words around like as though they have something to do with one another. And the difference between a million and a billion, I mean, it's you know what I mean? They have very little in common in that they're that far apart. So the question is, how do they build like not only a $1 billion company, but Uber? What is it? Like, I mean, it's a $100 billion company plus. So the question is, how do they do it? And I say the reason why is they have a two-way channel where the same place that I go to find a room to rent is the same place that you go to put your room up for rent, right? Tinder, the same place I put myself out there for a date is the same place you go for a date. Uber, same thing. If I want to be able to distribute, if I want to be an Uber driver, I go to the same places that, somebody goes to basically call on an Uber to come and pick you up. So can you talk to that? If business models, what's your favorite business model, and what are some models that you have seen and have operated very successfully, and of course added zeros to bottom lines?
Well, let's first touch on those examples you just gave. One of the things that is key to those examples is that they create advocates. All of the Uber drivers become advocates of Uber. All of the Airbnb hosts become advocates of it. Tinder, the daters, become advocates of the brand. And so that is a very big starting point of it. It's like LinkedIn. Everyone goes on LinkedIn to put their thing up, and now they realize, hey, I can get a job up there. Everyone wants to connect with everybody all of a sudden. LinkedIn is like the new Facebook, I guess. But the reason I wrote this book, Pulling Profits Out of a Hat, is because we looked at exponential growth, and my other 16 books had talked about business growth, but had never pulled together what do you have to do for exponential growth and to continue high-level growth in that. And every coach in the world kind of needs this data to be able to share with their people, which, just throwing in a plug there, is if you want to become an Adding Zeros coach, jump on pullingprofits.com. But the point behind that is I go into, when it comes to strategy, which is where business modeling comes in. When you go into strategy, there's four main components to strategy, and business modeling comes up with two of those. Leverage and leverage by my definition is do the work once, get paid forever. So how do you do work one time that pays you back forever? And that's where your business models of franchising, licensing, rental businesses, subscription-based businesses. There's so many of them that are where if you get a customer and they stay with you forever, that is a good, strong business model. You get a customer once, they go away, that's not a good, strong business model. The second is scalability, so high growth potential. And scalability, by my definition, is every sale, the next sale gets easier and costs less. So growth is actually, it gets cheaper as you grow and it gets easier as you grow. So if we look at business models and strategy, and the other two parts of strategy are marketability and opportunity, and we can go into those later if you want, but the idea behind a business model is actually a business that is fundamentally at its core designed for exponential growth. If you look at, let's use McDonald's as a simple example. When Ray Kroc found McDonald's, the McDonald brothers had a great little business model. It was a singular business. It operated in a singular location. They'd tried franchising and messed it up because they didn't understand the franchise business. See, they were in the burger business. Ray Kroc comes in and realizes, hang on, I'm not in the burger business. Well, it took him a little while. He thought he was in the burger business in the beginning. Then he realized, hang on a second, I'm actually in the franchise business. I'm actually in the real estate business. I'm not even in the business of burgers. I just happen to sell machines that make burgers, and the machine is a store, and this is where, a lot of people, when it comes to understanding business strategy, and this is where, in fact, if you look at franchising, this is where most franchises go wrong. They still think they're in the business of the business that the franchise sells. No, you're not in the fitness business. You're in the franchising business. I was trying to explain that to a buddy of mine the other day. I said, so how much franchising study have you done? Because he's done 1 million years of study in fitness and all that stuff. He said, well, I haven't done any franchising study. I said, well, there you go. No wonder your franchise side of your business isn't succeeding. And that to me is a very important part of it. So if I was to look at favorites, rental business is probably one of my absolute favorites. Had a few in that industry. Basically anything where it meets those two criteria, leverage and scale.
Love it. And the internet, so I heard you talk a little bit about you like things that they can't compete with you on the internet. Are you a fan of internet plays and the kind of two-way channels that I outlined, like the Tinder, the Uber, the Airbnb?
You got to remember, those businesses are not internet businesses. Their business is a hotel. Their business is a car rental. So their business is an offline business. They just happen to have used the internet to have made an offline business better. Same as Amazon. Amazon's not an internet business. It's an offline business. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. They think they want to build an internet business where everything is delivered on the internet. It's very rare that any business that actually operates just on the internet actually makes a lot of money. See, the Facebooks and the Googles are a very rare breed. The companies that use the internet to make a ton of money are a very good, strong business. So you've got to look at it from that perspective. Like Alibaba, it's not an internet business. It's a distribution business that just happens to use the internet as its marketing tool. So, and this is where the app and the internet are a marketing tool, not the actual business. So I think that's got to be cleared up with a lot of people first and foremost. If they understand that, then they understand, okay, the internet is a marketing channel. The internet is a strategy. The app is a customer interface. So that's not the business. So, am I a lover of internet plays? Not really. I'm more a lover of businesses like you look at even Microsoft, Norton. They're a subscription-based business now. Microsoft was a software-based business. They've moved to a subscription-based because they realize the inherent risk in a software-based where you got to launch every few years to re-up my software type thing. No, just rent my software, and that way I get paid every month.
Okay, well, that leads me to a question I wanted to ask you. So you often, I've heard you talk about Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And their old business model where they had a debt. Well, could you do me a favor? Could you explain Apple, what happened back in the day?
Apple's a great example of leverage and scale. So Apple's back in the day business model, it originally started out as a manufacturer of computers. They manufactured it. Now, if you're a manufacturer of anything, it doesn't matter whether it's a computer or a window, you make it once, you sell it once. That's the business model, and that's not leverage, to make something once and sell it once. Now, Apple also had a negative business model. They not only made a computer once and sold it to you once, they sold it to you with software that they didn't charge you for separately, so therefore they had to continuously have a negative balance sheet of having to provide you with updated software. So Apple's original business model, now the model got better with their computers. They started to outsource the manufacturing, but they still make a computer once, sell it once. That's Compaq, that's HP, that's Dell. All of these companies that really struggled through a bunch of things and had to learn that, hey, that doesn't work. What did Compaq do? What did Apple do? What did Dell do? All of these companies. Canon. Well, Canon doesn't sell you printers anymore. What do they sell you? Ink. And they make a fortune on selling you ink, and it doesn't cost you much to get a printer. They actually give it to you. Well, what Apple did when Steve Jobs came back, because Steve got fired when Apple was obviously going badly, because, he went off and he actually consulted back to Apple for a little while, and then he tried to make another computer company, but then he went and bought a company called Pixar, which had this great little software, and they made these wonderful movies, built that little company up, sold it for several billion to Disney, and now he goes back to run Apple. What has he learned while running Disney? What has he learned while running Pixar? Well, firstly, he learned how to run collaborative teams. He learned how to be a leader, much, much different. But secondly, he learned leverage. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, at the Pixar, you make a movie once, you sell it 1 billion times. Jobs comes back to Apple and goes, hang on, we got to change up our business model. He goes into the music business, and people think, oh, he went into the iPod business. No, he didn't. He went into the music business. He didn't invent iPods. Sony invented the iPod, the MP3 player, but the people at Sony are stupid. They invented this MP3 player. Their marketing team said, yeah, let's call it an MP3 player because that's a sexy name. Dopey people. And here's Steve Jobs goes and creates a sexy name for it, puts it in a sexy packaging, sells it through colleges all across the United States first, gets college kids running with this thing, puts this amazing software called iTunes together. Now you can dump all of your music off of your CDs onto this thing. You can buy music on this thing. Now here you got Apple selling music, taking 30 cents on the dollar for every song released. And funnily enough, Sony, one of the biggest music owners on the planet, now here they are paying Apple 30 cents on the dollar for selling their music on a machine they invented to another company. Apple's the biggest company in the world. Sony's, they're doing okay, I guess. But, now Apple's got this business selling apps. And how many apps does Sony make? So this is where Steve Jobs is even more of a genius than I am. Steve Jobs come back and goes, no, not this do it once and sell it forever thing. Let's do nothing and sell it forever. They don't make a song, they don't make a movie, they don't make a TV show, they don't make any apps, and yet they sell them all and take 30 or 40 cents on the dollar nowadays. That's crazy good business model if you ask me.
So literally, Apple, so everybody's listening to this, right? So Apple transitioned, we see Apple and we think of the iPhone and the iPod, right? Which obviously they're in, but really music took them from where, because everybody's like, well, how did they go from going bust to, what I believe is the most cash flush business in the world? And your answer to that would almost them Microsoft and Alphabet, which is Google's main company, are racing. They're sort of the $3 trillion up there. Amazon's up there, Microsoft's up there. They're all getting up there. But so what they did though, buddy, and this is the important thing, what they did is they transitioned their entire business model. And this is where a lot of business people don't get it. They think that they can stay in the business they're in and just keep, you just got to keep going. We got to work harder. No, you got to transition your business model. I've had to change my model of business coaching business now probably 6 times over the last 20 years of doing this, because every time the market moves, you got to move and keep ahead of it. You can't let the market catch up. That's always got to be the case. Okay, so on that note, then that's why they bought Beats, correct? Talk to me about that. Why did Apple buy Beats?
Well, what Apple saw was everyone else going into the subscription-based music business model, and they're sitting there going, hang on, if we stay with what we're doing, we're probably not going to be the ones leading the way all of a sudden. And so, rumor has it that the music companies wouldn't deal with Apple and wouldn't give them a subscription-based business model, which I could believe that rumor because Apple wasn't exactly kind to most of these people in some of their original deals. And, they had to come back and fight against a few of those deals. That's okay. But Beats come along, this little company that goes and says, hey, we're a headphone company. We're really cool. And they say, yeah, we'll give you a subscription-based contract. And so they had the subscription-based contract. Apple had to get the subscription-based contract. Well, that's the rumor anyway. So who knows? Maybe that's the case, and maybe there's something else to it. But that to me makes a bunch of sense that rumor is sort of the truth of where it all got from. But
so if that's the truth,
I doubt Apple will ever release those negotiations to it.
Yeah, but I'm with you. Apple bought Beats not for Beats, but for this access to the subscription. Correct?
That would be the idea. That's the whole point behind it, because again, the business market shifted, and Apple had to shift with it. And these are some of the things that we see it time and time again. Why did Microsoft go and pay such massive money for WhatsApp? Well, to put it into their network, because WhatsApp has such a massive Asian presence, and they want to keep. Oh, okay, there we go. This is why, and you got to see all those strategic purchases for what they are. But I think a lot of small business people don't think through changing their business and restructuring their business, or restructuring how they sell or price or package their products or services. And we can do a lot, and that's I give a lot of examples in Pulling Profit of companies that have done this, because I think if it's a company you can relate to, it's easier for you to say, oh, I get that. I see how they did it. Now maybe I can copy that too, or work along the same lines too.
Yeah, to get your head around it. Okay, so Apple basically got into the music business, so it's kind of complementary. Suddenly they went to, entirely new heights. So my question for you, we've got a business coaching listening, but he's the real deal, right? He's got 10 coaches underneath him. He's, they're well and truly past $1 million a year. They're looking to grow. Is there a synergistic model that you could see that, let's look at it like an acquisition as an example, or something that they were going to build synergistically to their business coaching company that would be highly profitable?
Well, let's remember that before we're business coaches, we're in the professional services business. So who's gone before us in professional services? Oh, lawyers. Oh, accountants. Oh, who's engineers, architects. Who else has gone before us that has done this? The medical business and all of these things that have gone before us, financial services, financial planning, brokers. So what we see in those industries or those professions is they all started out very similar to the way business coaching started out. The one-man band, the working from home, the single office, gradually gets to more and more and gradually gets. What we're seeing now, and I've got several universities that we work with to help provide business coaching degrees around the world. And what we're seeing is a movement into that level of professionalism. So I wouldn't try and reinvent the wheel. I would go back and say, okay, where is these other industries have done this before us and done it well? How do we work down that same path? What lessons are we seeing out of accounting firms and how they structure their partnership structures and how they handle acquisitions of other accounting firms and become bigger groups and that sort of thing? Where are we seeing this in the legal firms? What are we seeing in the HR firms out there in the world? I think that we've got to learn from those who've gone before us rather than to try and reinvent the wheel. We are not the first white-collar profession to go through a transition from, work-from-home style business to a very high-level thing. You got to remember that, when I started Action Coach, buddy, I sat down and said there's 3 A's of business. And this is why a lot of business coaches come and join us, because they see there's this massive group that is all coming together and doing this at a highly professional level. And that's why we have a program for existing coaches to come join us, because we see where this industry is going. We see the dominant players. And, that to me is the professionalism of this industry or this profession is going massive. And so learn from those who've been before us, I think, is probably one of the keys.
Yeah, like I said, the best indicator of the future is the past type of thing. So look at some others. I like that. Okay, so let's go another question. So I'm a successful business coach and I've got a successful client. They're interested in franchising. What's the best advice you would give to the average company out there looking to expand through the model of franchising?
First of all, study some franchising, get to the IFA, learn a bunch about franchising. If you haven't actually been in franchising before, you must realize that you're shifting industry. You're actually now going to have to be a good franchisor, not just good at the product that your business has. Second of all, you've got a plan to get yourself beyond 30 franchise stores. And I wouldn't franchise unless you're going for 100 or more. For the simple purpose that if you're just going to go for 30, you may as well do it through a corporate store model rather than a franchise model. Because with 30 franchisees paying royalty, you can't afford the support team to be able to manage it. You got to get to somewhere between, you got to get a higher number than that to be able to have a support team that can manage and support the franchise partners in a way that makes it successful for them and you. If your business as a franchisor has to depend on sales revenue to survive, then you miss the point. The royalty revenue must pay for all expenses and be your profit center. That's going to be the case. Next, I would sit down and look at your competitors who are in your space that are franchising and how are they doing. Often I see people go into franchising without understanding who else is in the space of franchising their industry. And they haven't picked a niche within the franchise. See, let's say I'm a coffee shop. I might have a niche within coffee shop world. But if I go into franchising, how is my coffee shop going to compete with the other 17 coffee shops that are franchised in the franchise world? Because don't kid yourself that someone who's going to buy a franchise coffee shop isn't going to look at all the franchise coffee shops. You got to have a uniqueness within franchising, not just a uniqueness within the product or service that you offer. Right? I think that's probably the starting point for all of it, bud.
Cool. So, and we both know franchising is wonderful as it can be and a great way to expand and raise money. There are some pitfalls. What are the? They're coaching their client. They're going to get to 100, but they got to manage the pitfalls. What are the pitfalls that the business coach needs to be aware of and have his spidey senses out for?
Yeah, first and foremost, the training of the new franchise partners. remember, the vast majority of franchise partners have never owned their own business. So this is their first business. So they're learning to be business owners whilst learning this business. So be careful around that front. Second is that it's all about relationships. So what level of relationship building does the franchisor do with the franchisees? How many annual events, how many dinners, how many conferences, what are they doing? Third is get the franchisees talking to each other. Too many franchisors are like, oh, we don't want them talking to each other. They might, no, you want them talking to each other, because if one's doing something good, you want them to help teach the others do something good. People are like, well, then they're not following the system exactly. You know what? I found one thing about franchisees. They'll follow any system that makes them more money. If the system that you're running doesn't make them more money, then yes, they're going to stop following that system. And you're going to have to come up with a better system, because you don't want them not following the system because their way is doing better. Like, we mentioned McDonald's earlier. Well, how about back in the day when McDonald's came forward and there's a franchisee who invented the fish fillet, the fish sandwich, because on a Friday in his marketplace, he couldn't sell beef. And now everywhere in the world does it. What about the franchisee that started selling coffee because they had a Dunkin' Donuts across the street, and they're like, we can't compete with Dunkin'. We gotta start selling coffee. And McDonald's is like, stop selling coffee. And he's like, but look at the number of coffees I'm selling. Then McDonald's started realizing, hey, the best inventions come from the ground up, from our franchise partners up, rather than from our head office, corporate office down. We can perfect it at corporate office, but definitely you got to give the franchise partners the ability to have some level of innovation, because they're the ones who want to make the money. If they innovate and make more money, then every franchise partner copying them makes you more money.
Yep. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, so I want to tap into your brilliant business coaching mind. You're going to coach a business, and it's going to be an online job site. Can we brainstorm together and go back and forth a little bit before we shut this down?
Did you just pick up a client that's an online? Did you just pick up an online job site as a client, buddy? Is that what happened?
I might be thinking of starting one, actually. So what do you think? What would you do? Online job site. You're quick on the money, man. I love it.
Yeah.
What do you think? What would you?
Well, first of all, you got to look at what's their charging model. What's their model for billing people? How much are they going to bill? Who's going to be their customer base? Because you got two customers in this, as you call it, a two-way thing. So you got the customer being the business owner, and you got the customer being the other. You got two levels of marketing, so you got to do double the marketing. You got to do marketing and have salespeople that handle the business owner, and you got to have marketing to the job appliers, that sort of thing. So if you look at the space in this and you start to see how much money is being thrown at advertising by Indeed.com, how much money is being thrown at all of these sites that go and do that. So I'd first of all question their sanity around going into that and seeing what their capital base is. Then next of all, I'd say, well, what's going to be your uniqueness? Where are you going to be unique? Are you going to be in one industry, or are you going to be in one region, or how are you going to make it and define it that you are better than everyone else in that space? Because you ever watch that TV show Billions?
Oh, mate, I watched 4 episodes last night. There you go. Love it.
There you go.
Love it.
Okay.
Axe.
You remember the episode where Axe's wife is trying to start up the business of trying to do people hangover cures, basically bringing nurses in to do hangover cures, and she goes to him to raise funding, and he's his usual Axe self, and he turns to her and goes, well, you don't have any barrier to entry. You don't have any set skill that you can beat anyone else on. You don't have anyone, there is nothing unique about your business. And he's just killing her right there. And she's just standing going, oh, okay. Yeah. And then he looks and he goes, okay, I probably shouldn't have spoken to my wife quite that way. But the point behind it is this. Any new business that can't prove to me they're unique in some way, shape, or form and way better than the next, and this is what, I get people pitching us all the time for investors, and they come to the venture capital things that we do, and you sit back and you go, you have no clue about how to be unique about anything that you do. You are exactly the same as everybody else, and you think you're unique. Don't be the coffee guy that says, oh, we're unique because we have better coffee than everybody else.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, so does Starbucks, dude. So does Starbucks. Has nothing to do with the better coffee. It's nothing to do with that. So I think that would be where I would start with those people.
Beautiful. You know what? That was valuable would be an understatement. Like I said, we get a lot of business coaches here, A, anticipating it, and B, that will listen. So, Brad, on behalf of my coaches, man, and everybody listening, and quite frankly, the entire business coaching industry, I want to say thank you to you, bud. I knew you were going to deliver, but you delivered in spades. Any parting words here for our folks? Oh, actually, wait, before we go, what am I saying? You have a new, so first of all, pulling profits out of a hat. I mean, it's available at every bookstore. I mean, I just walked into my local bookstore and grabbed it. So it's available everywhere, correct? Pulling profits out of a hat?
Should be everywhere. If not, good old Amazon's always got it. But yeah, pretty much every airport bookstore and every Barnes and Noble and every Books A Million, you'll find it.
Yep, love it. And then secondly, you and Monty have knocked together some intellectual property, and you're helping coaches at a pretty high level. Could you give me a quick rundown as to what you guys are doing with the model?
Yeah, so coaches who want to be doing business with the high-end businesses, we now give them the intellectual property to be able to go and talk to those people and have programs that are saleable items. Because the biggest challenge in convincing a larger corporate is if you don't have an actual program that they can invest in, the HR people and the CEOs, they love investing in a specific program. And so Monty now has an amazing structure of 6 programs that you can go in and run through these corporates, and then you run right through the whole thing, and it helps them with what we're trying to invent is a new category of corporate business coaching. We see a lot of business coaches, executive coaches, but the corporate business coaching is missing. And so that's really what Monty's working on. So the website for that is addzeroesnow.com, addzeroesnow.com.
Beautiful. And I know through watching the book, the primary 5 disciplines, I believe there's, correct me if I'm wrong, but off the top of my head, strategy, business development, your people, mission, and then execution.
Correct.
And then mission. Yeah.
So those 5 disciplines, once they read the book, they'll understand how to use those 5 disciplines and then sit down with Monty about how to actually put them into play.
Yeah, I love it. Well, fantastic, Brad. I would like to, again, just thank you for taking the time to come and share it with me, share it with my audience at the magazine and the podcast. You're absolutely fantastic, man, and thank you, boss. Thank you.
Thanks for making my job easier and asking me some real easy questions. You let me be a little bit opinionated. I get out there and have some fun.
And you are pretty good at being opinionated, man. I love it. You were
when you're an Australian, you can take the boy out of Australia, but you can't take the Australian out of the boy. That's definitely the case.
Yeah, I do. I lived in Australia for 15 years, so I can tell you I qualify a little better than most in understanding exactly. In fact, I would still say I got quite a bit of Australian in my heart. My boys, I still get called dingo every once in a while. So there you go.
Well, I hope everyone got some good ideas, and let's keep chatting and keep growing the business. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, man.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at Focused.com.